What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for September 21st, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition of the podcast, the last official day of summer. Fall is right around the corner. The weather is starting to feel like it. I cannot wait. It means lots of football. Sixers back on the horizon soon. Flyers kicking off training camp, and we are going to have a red October once again. More on that in a minute, but first, a couple quick housekeeping notes. Check me out on social media, Jimbo_Mont at Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, that Jimbo_Mont. It's the best way to stay in the loop. I'm working on some things, and I know I've been saying that, but life has been busy. But I reached out to a couple people yesterday about certain things. Likely going to be expanding my partnership with the Clashing Conferences, working on some things behind the scenes there. So stay tuned for that. But subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you're enjoying it, spread the word. Let somebody know that you like this. That's pretty much been our biggest way of growing is word of mouth. But if you're liking it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then tell a friend. Speaking of the Clashing Conferences, watch both episodes this week. Very, very good. I mean, the baseball one, especially with Mike and Lewis getting ready for this big Mets series. The breakdown of the NFC East with the OGs. They're doing some great things over there. So if you haven't checked them out, go check them out. Clashing Conferences podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And then go check out the guys over at Philly Goat. It is going to be a red October. It is election season. They have you covered for everything. Go check them out. I cannot wait for the voting shirt with the Democrat, Republican, and Philly Fanatic shirt to come. I want to show your support for T-Mac and John Kruk. They got you covered there too. So go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. And a quick recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, 20 years later, who do you blame the most for the Donovan T.O. thing? Lots of strong opinions on both sides, but 59% of you said it's 100% Donovan's fault. And I agree. I think it was a very simple way. T.O. was who he was. As Denny Green said, he is who we thought they were. And Donovan, all he had to do was say, pay the man. You don't have to believe it. Just say it. We could have won more Super Bowls. But thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. There'll be another one later in the show. If you want to get your thoughts and feelings, anything sports related, off your chest, 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Been interacting with everyone who sends a text, calls a voicemail. So get your thoughts in. You could also end up on the show. But lots to talk about today, so let's get into it. Yes, it's going to be a red October. 12-2 win, got down 2-0, and it felt as though we knew what was going to happen. But credit to this team for showing fight, staying in there, and then just exploding on the Mets. And, I mean, Christopher Sanchez he's very precise with his pitches, and he was just missing on a lot of them, and uncharacteristically walked, I think, 5 or 6 guys. But the offense got it done, and you got to love it, especially against the Mets. I thought it was odd, but then I realized we probably would have done the same thing. Down 12-2 when the Braves score went final. The Mets fans were cheering because their magic number is going down now as well. It's going to be a fun series, Mets-Braves, next week. But for now, the Phillies are in the playoffs. The magic number for the division is 1 game. Basically, all they need to do is win one of the next 2 games against the Mets. I feel they're going to be focused enough. They're going to win it tonight. I just have that feeling. Ranger Suarez is going to come out. I basing this on absolutely nothing, just a feel. I feel like he's going to come out and be vintage Ranger tonight, and the Phillies will win the division. The magic number for the number 2 seed now is down to 4 as Milwaukee lost, and it's still, they're tied with the Dodgers right now for that 1 seed. So that is still at 8, but we have the tiebreaker. But, man, they've been red hot. One thing I wanted to keep my eye on last night was the celebration. I felt, and they were talking about it, Dontrell Willis was talking about, you never know, they should be enjoying it, blah, blah, blah. They had a little champagne toast in the locker room. Topper gave a good speech, but that was it. And I'm glad to see they did not celebrate by popping bottles and dancing on my own and all that stuff, because the job's not finished. You've been there before. You've clinched a playoff spot. So I think the nice subdued celebration was perfect. Topper gave credit to the training staff and everybody that was involved, but he kept saying this is just the first step, and I agree. Now, they win tonight, partying it up, because one of your goals was to win the division. And I think winning the division, they set the goal of getting the 1 seed and getting one of those byes, and also having the best record in baseball. They want the World Series to come through Philly. And I think that may have made a difference in 22 against the Astros. But listen, I was very, very happy with the way they celebrated last night, because it's not that big of a deal. Now, big picture, you take a look at it on making the playoffs 3 years in a row. It's only been done 3 times in the team's history, from like 76 to 79 and then 07 to 2011. So, I mean, 3 times in a row making the playoffs. I don't want to minimize that. However, this team has World Series or bust goals. So to pop bottles and go crazy for just clinching a spot when you know there's bigger things on the horizon, kudos to the Phillies for keeping that under control and really just being like, okay, this is great. Congratulations, on to the next game. Now, again, tonight they win. Break out the overalls, Garrett, because I will be celebrating tonight. I might go to the liquor store and buy a bottle of champagne just to celebrate, because it's been a long time since we've won the division. But good win for the Phils. Even better win when they win the division tonight behind Ranger Suarez. Also, some good big news hopefully on the horizon. Austin Hayes will be in the Lehigh Valley today playing, and then tomorrow Spencer Turnbull will be pitching in the Lehigh Valley, and I think the Iron Pigs end their season tomorrow. So hopefully there's no rain and he can get that work in. But that would be a huge addition to this pitching staff if he can come back and go even halfway what he was early in the season. So good news on the horizon. That I think this is both of them. This is huge news. It looks like they'll probably send Weston Wilson down, who played a big role in this game. But I think the experience that those guys got being up here, I think is great. So the future is still bright for the Phillies. But right now, let's focus on this game this afternoon and win the division. And then let's go. Let's track down the Dodgers. All right, Eagles news. They announced the uniform combo. I like that they do this. I don't know why. It's just every Friday I'm like, all right, what uniforms are they wearing? But they're wearing the white jerseys with the green pants down in New Orleans. And I think that's, I don't know, it's just the way the lighting is in the Superdome. I like it when they wear the white down there, because likely the Saints will be wearing black. It's the little things like that. AJ will not be playing. So hopefully they've had now time to Kellen Moore to plan for him not being there. I'm expecting to see more consistent passing to the wide receivers, not named Britton Covey. CJ Gardner-Johnson looks like he's going to be a game-time decision. We will break down the game tomorrow. 3 keys to the game. Again, if you know anybody at KeyBank and they want to sponsor the 3 keys to the game, tell them to call me. But I think this game is going to fall on the offense, especially with the injuries on defense. And I just don't know what to expect with the defense. And I'll get into the keys to the game. I've been kind of jotting down notes and doing my research. So I have a game plan figured out for the Eagles. Whether or not they can execute it, that'll be another story. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. We'll do our 3 keys to the game. We'll put our bet in. We're 1-1 on the season, down the juice, but it's a long season. We do have some Sixers news, though, and they did announce that Joel Embiid signed a 3-year, $193 million contract extension. And honestly, I like it. And I think 2 big reasons for this. One, Joe is going to be a Sixers for life. And barring something crazy, I like this. I mean, say what you want. I mean, the front office has really done not a lot up until this offseason to help him. Ben Simmons let him down. Doc Rivers let him down. But to his credit, he's gone out there every day. He's battled through injuries. And I feel one of the top 5 greatest Sixers to ever play. And that's just off the top of my head, so don't ask me who I have. I'm thinking he's top 5, top 6 in Sixers history. All-time great for this franchise. So to have him and pretty much know that he's going to spend likely his entire career his prime of his career in Philadelphia, I love. And the second reason I like it is it basically does 2 things. And you have now a 2 to 3 year window, which we expected when they signed Paul George anyway. 2 to 3 year window to go after a championship. It's the only thing missing from his resume. I've been saying it. I don't care now about the MVP. I don't think he should care. It should be about him going into the playoffs relatively healthy. So if that means playing 55 games, 60 games, 40 games, whatever they need him to play, that's what I need them to do. And I need everybody on that team now to focus on winning a championship. But with that window, once the window is done and you have the end of Paul George and Joe's getting a little bit older, the Sixers then will have the flexibility to build around Tyrese Maxey, who should be well into his prime at that point. So we shouldn't necessarily fall into the NBA purgatory where you're an 8 seed and you're trying to get in and everything like that. They've set themselves up. So kudos to Daryl Morey for his offseason and the way he's done this. But I really like this contract extension. I know a lot of people were like, why would you do that? But I think it's more of a symbolic thing. And like I said, you keep him happy. You got to know now that he's going to be focused on, he loves it here in Philly. He's going to be focused on winning a title. So I think it's a good move for the Sixers. And listen, as much as I talk trash on them all the time, that's the one team right now that I really, really would love to see win a championship. And they are my Lucy with the football. I know what's going to happen, but just go with it right now. I'm happy. Training camp kicks off October 1st. Joel Embiid is never going to go anywhere, at least anywhere that matters. But let me know your thoughts on that. That is the question of the day. 267-495-8531. That is the Back to the Future voice and text line. What are you feeling? Good thing, bad thing for Joel in this contract? I like it because, like I said, there's not going to be any distractions now. They can come into camp and focus strictly on basketball. And I think the key is him getting out of that I need to win an MVP mindset and being in I need to be the best version of myself going into the playoffs. But what are your thoughts? 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Joel Embiid's contract extension. Should the Sixers have done it? Do you like it? Not like it? Let me know your thoughts. John Tortorella spoke yesterday about Matt V. Mishkov, and he's loving him. After a couple days in camp, he said he's a hockey player. He wants to be on the ice all the time and just wants to play hockey, and he's a good kid. So I don't know. Maybe I'm drinking the orange Kool-Aid, which I don't even know. Is there orange Kool-Aid? Maybe. I think I remember orange Kool-Aid. Let me know. If you've ever had orange Kool-Aid, let me know. I've never really heard anybody say that about the Flyers, and definitely don't want to drink the black Kool-Aid. That means you just mixed a bunch of flavors together, and it's going to taste disgusting. But I think we got a steal. I really do. I think we got a steal with him, and the fact that he came over much earlier than expected. This is amazing. I'm looking forward. I hope this game is on TV tomorrow. After baseball, being able to watch this. But tomorrow in D.C., they kick off the preseason. All right. Luckily, the Phillies won, or this would have taken on a completely different meaning today. But today, we're going to go back to 1964. And on this day in 1964, the Phillies entered their game with the Reds with a 90-60 record. a 6.5 game lead over the Reds and the Cardinals with 12 games to play. Things were looking very, very good for that 64 team. Jim Bunning had pitched a perfect game on Father's Day. Johnny Callison hit the walk-off home run in the All-Star game. It was just a magical season for the Phillies, and they were just kind of preparing to win the pennant. Well, in this game, in the top of the sixth, the Reds put together a rally. Chico Ruiz made it to third. Frank Robinson at the plate. Chico Ruiz broke for home. It was a bad pitch. I forget who was on the mound for the Phillies, but Chico Ruiz stole home. Phillies lost that game 1-0. That steal of home set off a cacophony, and yes, this is a SAT word for you today, a cacophony of ridiculousness. I think that is the perfect summation of my life as a Philadelphia sports fan, actually. A cacophony of ridiculousness. But between injuries, bad luck, bad managing, hot play from the Cardinals, things just snowballed for the Phillies from there. 10 straight losses. They dropped down to third place. When the smoke cleared and the dust settled, they finished one game back, tied for second place with Cincinnati. And to make matters worse, the Cardinals went on to beat the Yankees that year in the World Series. So the Phillies certainly could have won the World Series and should have probably won the World Series that year. So many things went wrong during the fold, as everybody likes to call it. TV Guide went to print with the World Series preview, Yankees versus Phillies. I was not able to actually find a copy of that. I don't know if it was actually ever mailed out or put on newsstands. And for those of you who are a little bit younger, back in my day, we didn't have the guide on the TV. In fact, we only had like 3 or 4 channels. I know, it sounds crazy, but we had a little book. Like, that's how you decided and found out what was on TV. It was called the TV Guide. But they went to print. I would love to, if somebody out there has a copy of the TV Guide with the Phillies-Yankees World Series preview from '64 on it, hit me up and let me know, because I would love to see that. But Dick Allen had said multiple times in interviews and in his book that it just snowballed and spiraled out of control. And the more they lost, the more they pressed. The more they pressed, the tighter they got. And the tighter they got, the more they lost. It was just one of those things. My dad still talks about it. There's guys, like I said, from a certain generation who have still never gotten over that. Last year when the Eagles were going through their downward spiral, there was a lot of talk of that 64 team. It's sort of like one of the standards for epic collapses. But on this day, back in 1964, the fold officially began when Chico Ruiz stole home. A lot of people say the curse of Chico Ruiz. There are a lot of people out there who feel as though it was not a smart decision and not a good baseball play for Chico to even steal home, especially with Frank Robinson at the plate. However, it worked. They won. Set off, like I said, a cacophony of ridiculousness. That might be the new hashtag. Whenever anything bad happens in Philly sports, a cacophony of ridiculousness. But the fold started on this day back in 1964, basically scarring and leaving a generation of Philly fans frustrated and just not trusting this team until the 1980 team finally broke through. But that all happened on this day in 1964. Cacophony of ridiculousness. All right, today we're going to have a little bit of fun with our Philly sports villain. And today's Philly sports villain is Tommy Lasorda. And he's our first one that we've done so far that wasn't a player, manager, or a coach for a Philly team. But he's from Norristown. He's a local guy. And like I said, this is going to be fun because everybody liked Tommy Lasorda. I remember, and this is probably going to show my age too, but if you ever remember, do you remember the show? I'm pretty sure it was called The Baseball Bunch with Johnny Bench, or Johnny Bench's Baseball Bunch, where it was just a bunch of kids. He taught them drills. He had players on. And then at the end, Tommy Lasorda was like the genie. And they all talked to Tommy Lasorda, and he kind of wrapped it up, and there was like a lesson. Great show. Love Tommy Lasorda for that. but he is a Philly sports villain, and here's why. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why Tommy Lasorda, everybody loves him, but I'm going to give you 3 reasons why he's a Philly sports villain. First and foremost, as the Dodgers manager, he beat the Phillies in the 77 and 78 NLCS while managing the Dodgers, and then didn't win the World Series. Who knows if the Phillies would have beat, like those were like the Reggie Jackson led Yankees, so who knows what would have happened. But that's number 1 reason Tommy Lasorda is a villain. Number 2, probably the most egregious charge against Tommy Lasorda, he hated the Philly Fanatic. He literally fought with the Philly Fanatic. The Fanatic obviously has a way of taunting and getting under the skin of the opposing team, but Tommy Lasorda, I don't know whether it was because he was a local guy, the fact that he did beat the Phillies twice in the playoffs, but the Fanatic went extra hard on Tommy Lasorda. I remember being at a game when he lined up cans of Slim. If you remember Phillies games in the 80s and 90s, the Fanatic would line up the helmet of whatever team they were playing and then take the tool that they used to tamp down I guess it's called a tamper, and smash the helmet. I remember seeing him at a game do that with cans of Slim Fast. And if you remember, Slim Fast was Tommy Lasorda's one of his endorsement deals. Have a shake for breakfast, a shake for lunch, and then eat a sensible dinner. But I remember him doing that, and he used to have an effigy of Tommy that he would drag around from the back of his ATV. Tommy one time stole it, and then the Fanatic fell, and he beat the Fanatic with it. Like, literally beat the Fanatic. So, yes, you don't like the Philly Fanatic, you are a villain to me in Philadelphia sports. Later, I think they said it was all in good fun, but Tommy Lasorda literally fought the Philly Fanatic, and that's reason number 2. And then reason number 3, and this might be a little bit off the beaten path, but Mike Piazza. Tommy Lasorda was a good friend, because he passed away, was a good friend of Mike Piazza's dad. In fact, he was Mike Piazza's brother's godfather. I know a lot of people sometimes think that Tommy Lasorda was Mike Piazza's godfather, when in fact he was his younger brother's godfather. But either way, he was a close friend of the Piazzas, both from Norristown. And basically, while he was with the Dodgers, he convinced the Dodgers to draft Mike Piazza in like the 60-something round of the draft as a favor to Mike's dad, to give him a chance. Like all the guy wanted, and I'll get into that in a minute. But all Mike Piazza wanted was a chance. And then Tommy went to bat for him and signed him for a contract. And nobody in the Dodgers organization wanted Mike Piazza. And Tommy Lasorda was like, no, like he kept pushing. And we all know how that ended up working out. Mike Piazza was always a Phillies killer and ultimately is in the Hall of Fame. So I blame you, Tommy Lasorda, for Mike Piazza being a Phillies killer. But there you have it. That's why Tommy Lasorda is a villain. Again, having a little bit of fun, a little tongue-in-cheek here. But he did legitimately fight the Philly Fanatic. So automatically you are on the naughty list, the villain list here in Philly, Tommy, for that. Let me know your thoughts on that. Again, it was fun. I do remember smashing the Slim Fast cans. That's hilarious. But Tommy Lasorda is today's Philly sports villain. And let me know if you remember the baseball bunch. I just remember it was the kids and Johnny Bench, and Tommy Lasorda at the end was like the genie or like guru. I forget the wizard, I think. It was a great show, especially if you like baseball back then. But if you remember that show, hit me up. Let's reminisce on a Saturday, having a little bit of fun here. But Tommy Lasorda is today's Philly sports villain. On this day, back in 1964, Chico Ruiz stole home, setting off a cacophony of ridiculousness that led to the Phillies blowing a 6.5 game lead with 12 games left. Luckily, that's not going to happen. No matter what happens, the Phillies lose every game from here on out, they're in the playoffs. All they got to do is win one, and they're going to win the division. But the ghosts of 1964 still haunt some people from the older generation, older than me. And that all started when Chico Ruiz broke for home, stole home on this day in 1964. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on Joe's contract. 267-495-8531. That'll get you it. Excuse me. We'll have our breakdown and predictions for the Phillies game. I'll give you the 3 keys to the game as we prepare to take on the Saints. Yikes. Hopefully we are celebrating the division title with a little bit of bubbly today. Got to make sure I hit the store and buy some. Although maybe I'll wait. Anytime I usually buy champagne to celebrate, it's never worked out for me. So I'm going to do you all a favor and not buy champagne, and then we'll celebrate. Go have yourselves a Saturday, everyone. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for September 21st, 2024. I'm Jim Montgomery, cacophony of ridiculousness. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.